We March Boxing and we back at it. Post-fight review. Eleider Alvarez versus Joe Smith Jr. WBO 168 pound, oh I'm sorry, 175 pound title eliminator. Yo, Chris Cabal, what you thought about this fight, man?
I thought it looked like Alvarez looked kind of washed up to me tonight.
Yeah.
He couldn't get out of there no point.
Hey, you gotta speak up in the speaker. I can't barely hear you.
I said he couldn't really get out of the way of no punches. He wasn't pumping a jab like he usually do in the previous fight.
Yeah, man, that's what I seen. Eleider Alvarez has always had like the best jab at 175 pounds. You know what I mean? That's like his bread and butter. But he got exposed today, man. His footwork, the man had no lateral movement. I thought he should win this fight pretty easily. You know what I mean? Pumping the jab and staying away from Joe Smith Jr.'s winging shots. But I ain't gonna lie, Joe Smith Jr. has improved his technique from what I've seen today, and at least from the last fight with Jesse Hart. He ragdolled Jesse Hart, but tonight he was out jabbing the jabber. You know what I'm saying? Doubling and tripling up his jabs, throwing the shoe shine combinations. Joe Smith Jr. looked pretty impressive in there, man. I must admit. And his punches were more tighter. He kept his punches together. You know what I mean? Rather than winging wild shots. That's how Bevo was kind of exposing him. He was putting his punches together, shooting more straight punches. And he was beating the shit out of Alvarez. I only gave Alvarez one round. And by round 3, Alvarez had his nose busted.
Yep.
Them fellas looked like he might have had his nose broken, for real.
I thought it was broken.
Yeah, that shit was leaking profusely. And Joe Smith Jr. just kept the pressure on this guy. And Eleider Alvarez played into his game plan. The way he fights, the way he fought the man Joe Smith tonight made this fight an easier fight for Joe Smith because the man didn't use no lateral movement. He wasn't hard to find. He stood and was trying to trade. Stood there trading with the man Joe Smith Jr. That's a no-no, man. That's like trying to trade with Better Beef, Look, Remember when Better Beef fought that white dude from England, Callum Johnson. Yeah, that dude Callum Johnson, he can crack, right? So that was his best opportunity to beat a Better Beef. He ain't going to outbox a Better Beef. But Eleider Alvarez could outbox Joe Smith Jr., but he ain't do that tonight. Joe Smith Jr. is a dude. I'm going to tell you like this, man. Joe Smith Jr. is a type of dude, he's in shape. He's ripped year-round. There's no off-season for Joe Smith Jr., who's a construction worker and got a lawn mowing business as his day job outside of boxing. Them fellas work outside year-round. Rain, sleet, snow, hail, whatever, or sunny. To beat this guy, dogs, you got to be on your bicycle, man. You got to be on your bicycle. Not the way Eleider Alvarez fought this dude. And Eleider Alvarez, he looked like he was scared to pump his jab. He ain't want to go jab for jab with the man, what's his name? Joe Smith Jr. And in round 4, Joe Smith Jr. almost stopped him. That's when he was beating the shit out of him. He just got saved by the bell. And sure enough, man, in the 7th round, Joe Smith Jr. catches this guy with a beautiful right cross. And it hurts and stuns the man, Eleider Alvarez. Then he hits him with a jab, a stiff jab. And it puts the man through the ropes. Damn near did him like he did B-Hop. He almost knocked him out the ring again. Eleider Alvarez laid there on his back like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing here? Then when Tony Weeks was counting, he wanted to get up fast, kind of like Danny Jacobs versus P-Rock. He was laying there lifeless, like Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder in the first fight. But Danny Jacobs was laying there lifeless, just like a dude, what's his name? Eleider Alvarez. When the referees see that, man, they're gonna call the fight off. They're gonna stop the fight. And that's exactly what Tony Weeks did. Even though Eleider Alvarez did get back on his feet, ladies and gents, he ain't get put to sleep like Dillian White did earlier today. Let's not just put things in perspective. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. So what you think about Joe Smith, man? He look good, man. He look good.
Yeah, he look real good tonight.
Hell yeah, he beat the shit out of Eleider. He boxed him, beat him in boxing, and he beat him in roughhouse. Not dirty tactics, but just fuck that boxing shit. I'm just gonna pummel you. And he did that.
Alvarez looked like he was past his prime.
You see, Alvarez has been having injuries. He's been having injuries ever since the Kovalev fight. The second one, you know. He was out the ring for a while. He fought Michael Seals in his last fight. Didn't look particularly good in that fight, but had a devastating knockout to end him. You know, but Eleider Alvarez is not no spring chicken. He's about 36, 37 years old. You know what I mean? And Joe Smith Jr. ain't no spring chicken neither, but Joe Smith Jr., man, he's trying to get a world title shot, man. If Joe Smith Jr. becomes a world champion with that WBO 175-pound title, that's a great story in boxing, you know what I mean? It's a great story for him because we've watched Joe Smith, at least I have, since the Fonfora fight, a headliner. Fonfora was doing his thing on PBC. PBC threw him a bone. You know what I mean? They gave him a headliner in Chicago, I believe, in his hometown. And the motherfucker Joe Smith Jr. came in there and knocked him out in one round. Yeah, man. Phone Jack on the chat. He says, Porter got a better resume than Crawford at 147. What the hell are you talking about, man? This video ain't about no damn welterweights, man. Go troll somebody else, Phone Jack. We talking about Eleider Alvarez and, what's his name? Joe Smith Jr. Some people just have no common sense, man. Try to tell you, they just type anything. Yeah, man. So any thoughts, last thoughts on this fight?
I want to see Joe Smith, and then I want to see Alvarez. Alvarez look like an old man tonight.
Yeah. And look, he's out of world title contention as of right now because he lost in this Eliminator. He got just like Dillian White lost tonight. And Dillian White tonight, this wasn't no mandatory fight. This was what you call it, a voluntary. So you know, both Dillian White and Eleider Alvarez got to work their way back up into title contention. As for Joe Smith Jr., I don't know who he fights next. The WBO belt is vacant. And, hey, man, PNC's a bad man. PNC got some more paper. He said earlier he got money on Joe Smith. And sure enough, PNC in the chat says, got that money plus 700. I could dig it, man. PNC, man, I got to start fucking with you. Man, I used to be on my betting shit. We used to talk about it all the time when we get online. I got to get back up on it, man. Boxing's back. I got to start making some plays, too, you know what I mean? PNC came up today, man. Probably ain't even have to leave his crib. He probably came up with some nice paper. That's what's up, man. Gaines PP in the chat. What's up, Gaines? He says Joe Smith had a great game plan. Absolutely, man. He did, and Eleider Alvarez made it easier for him and played into his palm. You know, played into his hand. You know what I'm saying? You know, the man had no lateral movement whatsoever. Did Joe Smith Jr. get hit? Of course he got hit by Eleider Alvarez. He got tagged. There was some opportunity, some moments. I think in round 5, Eleider Alvarez looked pretty good in that round. You know, he caught him with some nice counter shots. You know what I'm saying? Caught him with a chopping overhand right hand that stumbled him. You know, it stumbled Joe Smith Jr. and he kind of wobbled a little bit. But, you know, was that Eleider Alvarez game plan to stand toe-to-toe and fight this guy in the pocket? You crazy, man. Don't do that with Joe Smith, man. Joe Smith got stamina. Joe Smith is in shape. I'm saying Joe Smith probably carries big-ass tree logs, cuts down trees Sorry, Chris Caban. It ain't a lawn mowing service he got. It's a tree cutting. Tree. You know? Cutting trees and tree climbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Them fellas probably be carrying big ass logs of trees. Tree logs on his back. Don't do it, man. If you gonna fight Joe Smith Jr., you better be on your bicycle and have your boxing. You better have your footwork intact. You better have your counterpunching game. You gotta have that in order. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, this dude gonna ragdoll you like he did Jesse Hart and Eleider Alvarez tonight. Where we at in the chat? Games PP says, why didn't the WBC order White to fight Usyk or Hunter? He fought the number 9 dude and got iced. Look, this was a voluntary that he fought, man. You know, he thought this was he thought dude was sweet. Povetkin, who just came off a draw with what's his name? Michael Hunter. You know what I mean? You know, he ducked guys like Kubrat Pulev. He ducked Luis Ortiz. He said Luis Ortiz is old. He ducked Usyk. He said Usyk don't speak English. That's the reason he ain't fighting him. Commer's an MF. You've been lying to the people for years that you've been a mandatory for 1,000 days. That's ridiculous. That's over 3 years. You've been lying that, and I made a video debunking that BS. He only been a mandatory after he beat Oscar Rivas, a fight that's tainted in a lot of people's eyes. And that's neither here nor there. This video ain't about him, but you're absolutely right. This is what we call a cherry pick gone wrong. CMD Boxing Report says a lot of people were counting Joe Smith Jr. out, including myself. I made a prediction video, and I said he going to lose to Alvarez 8 rounds to 4. I thought Alvarez is going to pump his jab, throw that straight right hand, use lateral movement, catch Joe Smith Jr. in between his winging shots, because he's not very good at throwing straight punches. You know what I'm saying? But tonight he tightened that up. I think he got a lot of confidence from that ass whooping he put up on Jesse Hart. PNC King says, my bad, plus 515 upset. Games PP says, Alvarez watches work too much. Yeah. PNC King says, I got the Rob Brandt fight too. Damn, man. So how much paper you win this whole weekend, man? How much you get this whole weekend, PNC King? The people want to know. People want to know. I ain't doubting you, because PNC, I known you from a long time, you know what I mean? You always be betting. I ain't going to doubt you. There's some people who've been on these YouTube streets and on these channels talking boxing here with us on these live streams who be bluffing like an MF. You know what I'm saying? They be lying about all the fights that they bet and won money. Anytime I make some money betting. Yeah, yeah. I've heard some people, they used to come on this joint bluffing, acting like they want all kinds of paper, man. Stop. Anytime I want some money, I do videos. I show y'all my ticket. You know what I mean? My winnings. And I need to get back up on it, man. PNC's inspired me. And tonight and this weekend, and believe you me, PNC, I woke up today on Saturday, I looked at 5 downs because I was planning on putting some bets or just looking at the odds. But something came up. I probably got a phone call and I got distracted and I left it alone. I went and did what I had to do. You know, but today I felt like upsets was in the making, from the Delphine Pearson fight, all kind of fights. CMD Boxing Report says, you seen what he did to Hopkins, knocked him out the ring. Absolutely. December of 2016. I remember where I was at. You know what I'm saying? My little daughter got born October of 2016. You know what I'm saying? So that was like my first night with my lady out. You know what I'm saying? Ever since my daughter got born. And I remember where I seen that fight and I couldn't believe what I seen. B-Hop got knocked out the ring. I couldn't believe it, man. But hey, man, Joe Smith Jr. is strong. He's country strong. And he ain't even from the country. He from out there in Long Island. He's suburban strong. You know what I'm saying? He's suburban strong. Yeah, man. B-Marsh Boxing, man. I'm about to seal the deal on this video. What was it? A 6th, 7th round KO for the man, Joe Smith Jr.? B-Marsh Boxing. Your last thoughts, Chris Caban?
Yeah, man. I want to see the dude again. I want to see him again. So somebody that I talked about.
I think, matter of fact, before I sign off, let me look at the WBO rankings and see who's in the top 15, because I was about to say, why not Gilberto Ramirez, Zudo versus um Joe Smith Jr. That's what I'd like to see, because Zudo Ramirez, he been ever since, you see, Bob Arum's not a good guy, man. He's a legendary promoter, absolutely, but when you're not with Bob Arum or you cut ties with him, man, them fellas don't treat you good, man, because the WBO, anytime a guy is a champion and vacates and moves up in weight, they get first dibs at a world title shot in the next division they moved up from. Like Lomachenko when he was at 126 and he won himself a 130-pound title when he knocked out Rocky Martinez in Madison Square Garden. You know what I'm saying? You get first dibs. So, you know what I mean? Gilberto Ramirez was the WBO 168-pound champion. You know what I mean? He vacates his title to move up in weight, and he severs ties with Bob Arum, and he ain't never get a shot at the world title. As a matter of fact, he hasn't even fought since. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on over there, man, but Gilberto Ramirez is undefeated. He's like 40-0. You know what I'm saying? Whether you rate Gilberto Ramirez or not, he does deserve that world title shot. I seen Billy Joe Saunders take PEDs and fuck up a fight between him and Demetrius Andrade. Then he moves up in weight after being suspended and being stripped of his 160-pound title, and he gets first dibs at 168-pound title. Okay, so at 175 pounds, the title is vacant. The number one contender is a man by the name of Umar Salamov. I've never heard of him. The number two contender is a guy by the name of Maxim Vlasov. I think I've heard of him. Number three is Eleider Alvarez. Well, not no more. He's going to the back of the line. Number four is Joe Smith Jr. Number five is Sergey Kovalev. Number six, Anthony Yard. And Gilberto Ramirez is number 8. Disgusting. He should be at number 1. So I think Joe Smith Jr. should fight. Fucking make him fight one of these nobodies. Shit, Canoli be fighting nobodies and getting world titles. Fuck it. Make the man Joe Smith Jr. fight one of these nobodies, Umar Salamov or Maxim Vlasov. And if he wins a world title, hallelujah, amen. The man Joe Smith Jr., man, they can make a movie out of his life. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. If he wins himself a world title, and especially by being the last man to beat up B-Hop. You know what I mean? So we shall see, man. We shall see. But yo, B-Marsh Boxing, big ups to everybody in the chat. About to sign up out of here, man. I'm gone. Big up Chris Caban for coming through, and we out of here. Peace.